Hi, I'm Michelle from Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and we went thrifting to check out the Halloween stuff, of which there sadly isn't very much. I don't know if people are buying it all up as soon as it hits the shelves or if they're not donating their Halloween decor, but there wasn't much to fall in love with. My absolute favorite find of the day was this, which I then had to explain to my 13-year-old. That's a video disc. And back when my friends in the very super early 80s had Betamax or VHS, the appliance store that my parents owned, rented these things. And at the time, I felt like I was uncool because we didn't have the discs, but I could watch any movie I wanted pretty much for free. So in hindsight, I'm the one who was privileged there. If you don't want to know how a video disc works, I found a 1980s commercial and I'll link to it in the description below. Back when my youngest was born, I started noticing the keep calm and carry on stuff, and I have been looking for a keep calm and carry on. That one wasn't the same sentiment, but in hindsight, I do have days that are don't tell me to keep calm days, so maybe I needed that after all. Not sure what these guys are doing on this mug. I am obviously hoping to find something in the mug section. I'm just not entirely sure what it is. I'll know it when I see it. And I will show it to you when I see it. This one was pretty. I just don't have the cabinet space to pick up the cute mugs that catch my eye. Although, if I found something I loved, I could definitely get rid of the plain Dollar Tree mugs that we have so many of. That matches the plates I found a couple of videos ago. If I find a bunch of these at an estate sale, I am just going to be lost. A lot of the times it's the thrift store prices that wind up saving me from myself, and that's not a bad thing. The stitching kit selection was not good today. This was an old Cruel kit, and I was a little bit tempted to stitch it for someone I know because I know he would appreciate the sentiment, but that's too much work for that. This one is teddy bears, which don't particularly make my heart go pitty-pat, and it is also a pre-printed background, which definitely does not make my heart go pitty-pat. So I didn't need that one either, even though the price was great. There is so much stuff in the craft section that it's scrapbooking and party decor and things that aren't on my radar, and just my brain goes, oh, that's clutter. I wonder if other people look at the stitching kits that I'm after and think that they are clutter. And I did take the time to sift through, and there really was nothing in there for this trip. The stuff just sits and sits. There are clothespins, and I had a ridiculous amount of time convincing my son that this articulated hand, they have one at home. I bought it for them for Christmas when they were really excited about drawing anime, and I'm not going to buy them one today when they can go home and find the one they already have. Can catch just the corner of that knitting kit from the last video. No one else has been seduced by its promises either. So many wooden stamps. I actually saw a lady at the other store we visited today looking through the stamps, so I guess there is a customer base for them. I don't do that kind. I've got some wooden stamps up in my sewing room, but I don't play with them. And since I don't play with the ones I have, I'm not tempted by the ones at the thrift store. Lots of yarn today, but none of it was tempting because I have plenty of yarn at home, except, dang it, is that one there in the corner sock yarn? I did not notice it because I was distracted trying to figure out if this little thing was embroidery floss or not. And I am not going to make the drive back to see if that was sock yarn, even though I have a hunch that I know what brand and color that might be, and if I had seen it, it would have come home with me. I've been telling myself that I should keep my eyes open for another one of these cardboard cutting boards, but I didn't even check the prices of these because I know that at this shop they're going to be more than I want to spend. And just look at what my son dragged me across the store to look at. Earlier this year, we had the Saga of the Conquistador lamp, and this is just similar enough to catch our attention, but still not the same. He was missing the hardware, although he did have a screw coming out of the top of his head that shows he originally was a lamp, and I'm sure he was much more than the $5 that was on the lamp we missed out on, so we didn't bring him home, and I'm sorry for that camera angle. He was way over my head. This is cross-stitched to look like a quilt and then sewn into a quilt. It just kind of boggles my mind, and all of that stitching almost makes my head hurt. Someone put a tremendous amount of hours and time into this baby quilt, and it's pretty from a slight distance. Here in the close-ups, you start to see how many stitches there are, and I don't know, I'm not a fan. I wish Anteater Antics had existed when my middle son was obsessed with anteaters as a little kid, because this would have been the absolute perfect Christmas present. The anteaters are hats, and they have Velcro on their little mouths, and apparently you use them to pick up ants. And there are cards, and there is some kind of plot, but you know that the kids just would have been crawling around on the floor trying to pick up ants. It would have been perfect, although I suspect that it didn't come into existence until a few years too late for it to be useful for us. The boys found some clowns with a police clown, and my first assumption was that they were gambling, but that's a checkerboard, so now I'm really not sure what's going on here. And it was $100, so there was no danger that we were going to bring that home. That's what my boys would paint if you had given them ceramics and paints a few years ago. And I would have kept it if they'd painted something like that. Lots of fun bric-a-brac, because there is always fun bric-a-brac. I kind of almost fell in love with that flamingo you can see hiding in the back there. I just love how delicate and pretty it is. And it always makes my heart go pity-pat a bit when I find something vintage tucked in among all the nondescript stuff. Here's some more Halloween decor, and what I at first thought was a witch's hat is actually a ornate wall sconce that someone had turned upside down, but the color and the shape make it a pretty good hat, and I'm sure you could use it as something else for the rest of the year. The boys and I were all kind of confused by the proportions of this cow cookie jar. Something about it is just off and makes my head hurt a little bit. Kaylin, is this the cobalt blue glass that you mentioned? Thank you so much for watching. I am Michelle with Michelle's Romantic Tangle, and I will be back with you again soon to share more thrifting videos, and I've got some Halloween tutorials coming up too.